The best facelifts have always been the ones you don't notice at first glance. Despite that, they still have a positive effect. And that's the case with the Audi Q7. Most of the new beauty is on the inside, though. The manufacturers have fitted new engines in their top-of-the-range models. Audi's Carsten Koss says the new Q7 has really restamped its SUV line, and the sporty progressive design is a new departure from that segment. The Q7 has established itself as one of Audi's most important models. They will soon reach the figure of 250,000 delivered models.
In diesem Jahr, in Kürze, werden wir 250.000 Fahrzeuge gebaut haben und an den Kunden ausgeliefert haben.
The Q7 radiates power. The horizontal and especially the vertical lines in the radiator mean this is a car which will not go unnoticed. The truck rounds off this altogether muscular image. There is a choice of 18 or 21-inch tires. The ride is extremely smooth. Surrounded by carefully chosen materials, the traveler looks out at the passing world from an elevated position, typically Audi.
Wir haben im letzten Jahr
Last year, Kraus says, Audi changed its models to better suit the company image. He says this year the focus has been on technical measures, and especially the improvement of fuel economy. He says the 3-liter diesel engine in the newest generation Q7 is fitted with an 8-stage automatic gearbox and a stop-start system. That means it can use as little as 7.4 liters to cover 100 kilometers. That means 195 grams of CO2 per kilometer, which is 19% less than the last model. We test the new 3.0 TSFI. Thanks to the 4-wheel drive, this is also the perfect off-road vehicle. Power comes from a V6 engine. The air intake is compressed using power from the motor. Coolers keep the temperature stable and mean more oxygen gets to the combustion chamber, and the engine is more efficient. The new V6 compressor engine comes in 272 and 333 horsepower versions. We test the more powerful one. Audi lists the fuel consumption at 10.7 liters. That means it uses 16% less fuel than the 4Runner model. Both the 6 and the 8-cylinder models come with an 8-stage automatic gearbox, which Audi says reduces consumption by 5%. The 8 gears keep the RPM levels down so that the engine constantly runs at its optimum speed. Customers can also order the Q7 with electronically controlled pneumatic suspension. That changes according to the terrain type. On the motorway, it lowers the vehicle to improve stability and reduce consumption. The new Q7 goes on sale from the middle of the summer. It's World Cup time again. Tears and joy, the world on its head. But anyone who overdoes it risks a very sticky end of the party. An insurance company has sponsored a study by a group of analysts of the particular dangers posed by the celebratory automobile parade. The crash test illustrates the dangers fans expose themselves to when they lean out of their car to wave flags. They simulated a rear-end impact at 40 kilometers an hour. Even at slow speed, a sudden deceleration or small impact can lead to a dangerous slingshot effect. Everything has to be set up exactly if the test is to produce exact results. Every detail is double-checked. 7 cameras document when and how each injury occurs. Without realizing it, these victory-drunk fans are exposing themselves to great danger. Christoph Lauterwasser of the Allianz Insurance Center for Technology says the driver is well protected, secured by the seatbelt, and thanks to the airbag, he remains in place despite the impact. But the woman who was sitting in the window frame has been catapulted into the B-pillar, which can cause serious injury, mainly in the pelvic region, but in the chest region as well. And the fall of 1 meter onto the hard asphalt can also lead to serious injury.
Zudem natürlich der Sturz ungefähr aus 1 Meter Höhe auf den harten Asphalt kann natürlich zu schwersten Verletzungen führen.
Lauterwasser says that the second dummy woman was standing on the seat with her torso out of the sunroof. It was thrown forward in the accident, which would lead to serious injury to the chest and internal organs. So it's a very risky position to take in the car, even with a small accident like this one. With potential injuries like heart and lung contusions and skull injuries, the dangers of a seemingly harmless car convoy are huge. Despite all the excitement, it's best to stay safe. It's only a game after all. Volvo is providing insight into its 2011 range with the front-wheel drive XC90. The D3 Geartronic is fitted with an automatic gearbox. The 2.4-liter turbo diesel is the bottom of the range model. The 163 horsepower engine catapults the car from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 11.8 seconds. The fuel consumption for the diesel is listed at 8.5 liters. The Erzberg in Austria. For the past 16 years, the Erzberg Rodeo has been a Mecca for extreme enduro. Up to 35,000 spectators follow the action on the former iron ore mine. For many fans, this is the Woodstock of Motocross and the most exciting race weekend of the season. 2,000 motocross riders from 26 nations gathered for the event. But before the prestigious main race, riders first faced the challenge of the prologue. It's a grueling test, even for last year's winner, Tadej Blazusiak. Only the fastest 500 qualify for the legendary Red Bull Hare Scramble. 23 kilometers in 4 hours. This is extreme off-road racing. Too extreme for some at the very first climb. Every section pushes the enduro riders to their limits. The course is relentless, just the way the spectators like it. Only 16 starters will make it to the finish in the time allowed. The course winds through woodland, treacherous gravel sections, and over rocks and boulders. It demands balance, coordination, and extreme fitness. While the race favorite Blazusiak pulled away at the front, riders behind him were fighting for every meter and every second. But the defending champion was in a class of his own. Poland's Tadej Blazusiak took the checkered flag for the 4th year in a row.
It's great, I feel great. I gave it everything again, and the track was so hard, and Wow, you know, it's such a feeling, you know. Gave it absolutely everything, you know, and yeah, absolutely happy. 4 times! 4 times.
After Blazouziak's victory, he took part in yet another highlight of the day. A head-to-head with Formula One turned rally driver Kimi Räikkönen. Bike against car, 2 wheels against 4. Neither gave an inch. There was pride at stake, and both men grew with the challenge. But it was the Finnish motorsport star Räikkönen who finished on top, beating Blazouziak home by 28 seconds. The bike rider's punishment for losing? Washing the winner's car. This is one old-timer that deserves a second glance. The Mercedes-Benz 130 is barely recognizable as a member of the prestigious car line. On closer inspection, the small two-door coach reveals itself as an anomaly in the German automaker's 100-year history. While other Mercedes cars were typically fitted with front grills, the 130 featured a closed hood. If you're guessing that means the motor is in the back, you'd be right. The 130 was Mercedes' first model with an engine mounted over the rear axle. The streamlined shape so fashionable in the 1930s accelerated a trend towards rear-engine vehicles, a trend followed by the likes of Rumpler, Tatra, Skoda, and Porsche. This 130 model, built in 1935, also has fixed window frames. Opening the soft top on the convertible needs a little practice, but even for the experts, it still takes some time. It's certainly not a task worth considering while waiting at the traffic lights. Despite its size, the 130 is packed with charming details that are typical for the 130s, including the solid chrome steel bumpers. The plate springs on the front axle were also standard for the day. And no surprises here. The trunk is found under the rounded grille-less hood. But for longer trips, don't expect to be packing much luggage. With the spare tire and tools taking up most of the room, storage space is in short supply. The Mercedes 130's eye-catching proportions were a result of its rear-mounted 4-cylinder engine. These slits fed directly to the cooling system. The 1.3-liter motor delivered a modest 26 horsepower, driving the rear wheels via a 3-speed gearbox with overdrive. The vehicle weighed a metric ton and could travel at more than 90 kilometers an hour. The motor is still astonishingly quiet. The Mercedes 130 hit the showrooms back in 1934. And the carmaker later brought out the 150 Sport Roadster with only 2 seats and a more powerful engine. The pioneering influence of those vehicles can be seen in the later Volkswagen Beetle. Ferdinand Porsche finished his first prototypes in 1934, the same year that Mercedes put its rear-engine designs on the market. But while the VW Beetle went on to become a mass phenomenon, the Mercedes 130 was discontinued after just 2 years because of low sales. By 1936, the Mercedes experiment with rear engines was over. With its next model, the 170, the car maker returned to its standard front-mounted design. This fully restored 130 is now a museum piece. Worldwide, fewer than 100 vehicles still survive. With a length of 4 meters, there was just enough legroom for backseat passengers. The onboard instruments were no frills and functional. The 130 was conceived as a car for the masses. In 1935, it sold for almost 4,000 Reichsmark. That was considered cheap for a Mercedes, but still more than most could afford. The gear stick and steering wheel of the 130 require some assertive handling, and the thin wheels and old-style suspension make driving control a constant challenge. Mercedes and the rear-mounted engine have long since parted ways. Only Porsche remained true to the principle, but that's another story.